I've helped over 250 dogs lose weight, and in this video I'm going to show you the same exact method I've used for all of them so you can use it for your dog. Now, most people think this is about a special diet or a special food, and it's really not. You can achieve the ideal weight for your dog with any diet as long as you use this method. And here is the proof. I ran one of the largest studies ever conducted on dog weight loss. And every single dog that participated in that study, which was a privately owned pet, achieved the ideal weight. While usually it's less than 1 in 3, and anyway, after they lose the weight, they put it back on. And so, if you watch this video, you are going to learn what to do on day 1, how fast your dog is supposed to lose weight, and what thing to do that is the one thing that almost everybody skips and is the most important thing you can do in this entire dog weight loss journey. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, I am a veterinarian, I have a PhD in nutrition, I run a study, you can check it out on nature.com. I'll put the link in the description. One of the largest studies ever conducted on this topic. And overall, I've helped over 250 dogs lose weight in the past 7 years. I want to say, however, this video is not about the diet. I'll make separate videos for that. This video is about the method, because I actually think this is the most important part in the process. Now, why even make a video about this? Now, why should you watch this video? I mean, if you're watching this video, you probably already know how much the ideal weight, or vice versa, the extra weight, influence the lifespan and the life quality of dogs. We know that obesity and more in general being overweight is the most common health condition in dogs. And we also know in one of the very few lifelong studies ever conducted in dogs that being overweight is associated with a lifespan of around 2 years less than the one of dogs that are normal weight. So it's literally the most important thing that you can control. There's no diet, there is no supplement, nothing that has this level of proof among the stuff that you can control associated to your dog health. Of course, you cannot control the genetic, you cannot control, the numbers of treatments that are available for a certain type of condition, but you can control your dog weight. And so why not? Why not do it when we know that overweight dogs live less and live worse, significantly worse? Something that always, surprised me is why there are so many overweight dogs. But when you actually think about it, we shouldn't be surprised by it. Because first of all, there is a knowledge gap. Most people don't know the fact that being overweight for a dog is actually so bad for their health and their expected lifespan. The second thing is that we kind of normalize the image of the fat dog. We look at a dog that is actually fat and we think, oh no, that's normal weight. But that's not the case for so many dogs. And the other thing is that feeding is a skill. In the same way that feeding ourselves is a skill, feeding our dog is a skill. And nobody teaches the skill. When you adopt a dog, there's no course that you go to, oh, you need to learn how to feed their dog. And so we tend to reward our dogs with treats and with food because we see that as an act of love. And, you could read it as a short-term act of love, but then in the long term, it's definitely a negative. And so, in the same way that we have the expression for humans that, the body is made in the kitchen, not the gym. That's why I am in a kitchen right now. The same is true for dogs. Regardless of the amount of exercise that you provide your dog, if you mess up their diet, they will still end up overweight. Because if they are in a caloric excess, which is very, very easy to get to for a dog, regardless of the level of exercise, they will put on weight long term. And so let's get to this method. Let's get to the core of this video. First of all, I want to say that this method is based on 2 phases, not one. The title of this video says, how to make your dog lose weight fast. And I mean that. But I mean it for the first 6 weeks. This is the part, and I'll explain you later why, and the scientific basis behind this, that we really want to go hard. This is the sprint. And then after 6 weeks, it's more like a marathon. We want to think long term because slow and steady wins the race. And there are 3 pillars that we want to consider in this journey. The aggressive start at the beginning to kickstart the weight loss and the metabolic change. The second key pillar, which is the part that I mentioned earlier that almost everybody skips, is measurement. Measurement as intervention has been proven in human studies, in pet studies, is the most important thing. There's literally nothing that will increase the likelihood of your dog reaching their ideal weight as well as the fact that you are going to weigh your dog every single week. And if you can't do every single week, at least every 2 weeks, maximum every month, but ideally is a weekly activity. Because that alone, that number alone in the back of your mind will motivate you to make sure that the number goes down over time until we reach the target. And the third aspect that we are going to talk a little bit more in depth very soon is accountability. Without accountability, like it's really hard. I am going to spoil you already. The reason why in my study all the dogs reached their ideal weight is because of accountability. It's because I was a PhD student at the time, and I was the personal accountability partner in a way of every single dog owner that participated in the study. Let's look at phase 1 first, the first 6 weeks. Why we are doing a sprint in the first 6 weeks? Well, it's because this is the part where it's naturally easier for your dog to lose weight. What we are going to do is calculate the daily energy requirement of your dog. I'll put a link below on how to do that. And we are going to cut the number by 40%. Now that might sound aggressive, but I promise you dogs can absolutely tolerate that. And that will kickstart the weight loss. Now, to compensate for the decreased amount of calorie, what we do is we put some more fiber in the bowl. Especially we put more vegetables. That will also allow to have a more full stomach and kind of give that sense of satiety that otherwise we wouldn't reach, right? And the other thing is we turn every single treat to a vegetable. Now you might say, but my dog doesn't like vegetables. That's okay. That's okay. They won't eat it. If they're really hungry, they will eat it. A low-calorie vegetable instead of treat, that alone is 20, sometimes even more % of the daily calorie that your dog normally consumes gone. And that will make the weight loss so much easier because it's so easy to overfeed with treats. We think it's little and instead it's a lot of calories in those treats. So in this phase, just for this phase, we eliminate the treats. It's just 6 weeks. I promise you, your dog can survive 6 weeks without treats. And the psychological principle behind this is the fact that also this is the period where your motivation is at the highest. Because if you're watching this video right now, you probably are motivated to make your dog lose weight, or you at least think that your dog should lose weight. But you know, life is long, there's lots of stuff happening, and your dog weight might not be, rightly so, your priority. And so we want to cut the weight as much as possible during this first highly motivated phase. After this, we're going to go in a maintenance phase. But before, I want to talk about measurement. Measurement as intervention. I already told you, weigh your dog every single week for those first 6 weeks. It's also going to be extremely satisfying. You are going to see, because this is also physiologically, is the part of the weight loss journey where your dog will lose weight faster. So it's very easy for your dog to lose 1% of their current weight every single week in this phase. Sometimes even up to 2%. And it's just satisfying. And you already see also the outcome in your dog's health at week 6. I'm going to talk about the blood changes very soon. But first, I want to highlight how if you can only do one thing, even if you cannot, do a special diet, anything like that, if you can only just do one thing, it's weigh weekly. That's it. It's more likely that your dog will achieve their ideal weight if you just weigh weekly and then subconsciously your behavior will adapt to that, versus if you go to a veterinarian and you get the special diet and then you forget about it, right? Measurement as intervention is the most important thing, and almost no one does it in dog nutrition. That being said, the second key is accountability, right? Again, I told you the statistic about my study. Privately, when people work with me, over 90% reaches the ideal weight. It's not as high in my study because people are not forced to be compliant with what I ask them, right? These are privately owned clients, and after a while, they decide to stop weigh their dog weekly, they can. While the people that participate in my study, they wanted all the free stuff that we were going away with the study, the blood test, the food and so on, the service. And so one of the requirements was, okay, but you need to talk to me every week, you need to weigh your dog every week, and you need to be part of this journey until the very end, right? And so they stick to it. Even with me, just with outside of the study as a private veterinarian, still have incredible numbers compared to when you simply give the diet to the dog owner, and then that's it. That's the end of the thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because if I give you a diet today, then we stop talking. Maybe you start doing that diet today, you'll do it for a few days, but then, life kicks in and you will simply forget. As hard as it sounds, not that I don't believe in you, I just know from practice that what happens, and that's why having an accountability partner is so, so important. And that can be, a family member, that can be a friend, that can be your veterinarian or your veterinary nutritionist. But you need to have some person that you can talk to and they will hold you accountable to this diet. Kind of like the same way that happens with humans, right? That's why we have a personal trainer in humans. It's not like going to the gym is hard or, lifting is complicated and you need to be trained a lot of the times. The real value of the personal trainer is the accountability. And this is the same. After the 6 weeks of the sprint, then we start the long-term marathon. And here what we want is just being consistent. It does not matter if in this phase your dog weight loss rate slows down. It's actually natural. Instead of losing 1% of their weight every week, it's probably going to be closer to 0.5% or something like that. But that's fine because the goal is not to have a fit dog for a few weeks, it's a fit dog for life. And so whether we reach that ideal weight number in 6 months versus 4 months or versus 8 months, it doesn't really matter as long as we reach it. But I also want to tell you something. 6 weeks are actually enough to allow to see a significant difference in your dog blood work. And my study, as long as other studies published in the literature, prove this very clearly. If you do the blood work on your dog and they are overweight or obese, they will have a significant number of parameters that are out of the normal range. And with a 6% body weight loss, after just 6 weeks of weight loss, most of those parameters go back to normal. So something that should motivate you in this is the fact that even if your dog is very obese and there is a long journey ahead before they reach that ideal weight, their health is going to improve significantly after just 6 weeks, which is a very small period of time, all things considered. And think about the alternative. Think about the fact that when your dog is overweight, they tend to be much more tired, they tend to play less, and they tend to be more prone to be rewarded with food. This sprint period of 6 weeks weight loss will cut the negative cycles that usually happens in overweight dog, of the dog being overweight. Since they're overweight, they tend to be more tired or to don't play as much, and for that reason, they tend to be rewarded more with food rather than extra play. And since they're rewarded more with food, they tend to, put on more weight, and so the cycle continues. Now, if you can stop this cycle with a sprint of 6 weeks, and we cut down the weight of 5-6%, you've done the difficult part. And it's so frequent that after just these 6 weeks, owners will tell me, wow, it's like she's a puppy again, it's like he's a puppy again. And this is because you broke this cycle. Again, the diet is the easy part. I will make separate videos on the diet. Of course, there's lots of different things to consider and lots of different diets that can work. But if you follow this method, if you make sure that you have this aggressive start just for a few weeks, if you weigh your dog every single week, and if you found one accountability partner, whether it's a vet or whether it's a friend or a family member, you will succeed. And that means, just to remember the stakes, more years for your dogs and higher quality of life for those years, which I think it's a great trade-off for just a little bit of work and discipline. Again, you will find my paper published on nature.com in the link down in the description. And again, I will make the next videos about the diets, but that is not the key, as long as you do the aggressive start, the weekly weight, and you have an accountability partner. As for today, I'll leave you with this. Please go and feel your dog ribs. Can you feel them? Can you not feel them? If you cannot feel them, very likely they're overweight. Also, go weigh your dog. You should have in your memory or written somewhere the weight of a few years ago when they were probably normal weight. You can also see the difference and realize that your dog actually needs this. Write it down. Even if you don't want to start the diet today, go weigh your dog back next week and you will have the motivation to do so.